Hello, this is Nick Khattar with the Revelstoke Mountaineer. I'm here in front of the Revelstoke Community Center, where earlier tonight there was a forestry open house hosted by the Revelstoke Cycling Association and the Revelstoke Nordic Ski Club. The event was held to discuss future plans for further timber harvesting on Mount Macpherson, Frisbee Ridge, and Boulder Mountain. The public was invited to come meet with forestry representatives from around Revelstoke to discuss what, if any, effect future harvesting would have on recreational use in the three areas. At the event were presentations by Stella-Jones, BC Timber Sales, Downey Lumber, as well as from Ken Gibson, the former recreation officer for Columbia Shuswap. The presentations detailed forestry practices in and around Revelstoke, as well as addressed specific questions the Revelstoke Cycling Association had asked BC Timber Sales to address. After the presentations, the public was invited to come speak with the forestry representatives about any questions or concerns they may have. In attendance at the event, there was about 150 people, and when the community center was closing some 3 hours later, there was still a group huddled around Rob Moore from BC Timber Sales asking him questions. After the presentations, I had an opportunity to meet with some of the public as well as some of the representatives. Here's what they had to say.
My name is Pat McMecken. I'm from Revelstoke.
And how do you feel the forestry open house went tonight?
I think it was a good opportunity to share information, and I'm happy that we took that opportunity and were able to do that. I was in a corner representing Stella-Jones after that and had some good conversations, and was able to share some additional information and got some feedback, but I can't really speak to the rest of it because I didn't have time to wander around, so I don't know what other people experienced.
What results do you think were achieved from the forestry open house tonight?
I hope that there's a greater understanding for how it works, and the understanding that we need to work cooperatively. That was my objective, so I hope that was achieved.
My name's Angus Woodbid. I'm from Revelstoke, BC.
And how do you feel tonight's forestry open house went?
I think it went pretty good. I was one of the presenters. I'm a local forester in town, and I think we were given a challenging task to explain forest policy to a very interested user group, being the Revelstoke Cycling Association and the Nordic. And I think the format worked for the most part. There's obviously lots of site-specific questions that need to be dealt with, so I'm not sure how the open house portion is going for the various licensees, but I enjoyed the format and had some good conversation with some of the public.
Was there any specific results that you feel came out of tonight's open house?
For me, I don't know what can come out. It's a real tough nut to crack. I think the recreational use and whatnot is a moving landscape. If you look at Revelstoke, if we were to take an index of recreation use with specific to mountain biking, say 7-8 years ago, it was a very small use and it wasn't something that you would have considered. There's been a very explosion of the recreational use, specifically with mountain biking, and so yeah, it's a challenging landscape. The one thing I wrestle with as a resident, as a forester and whatnot, is the experience on the trail, and how do you measure that? How do you measure the wow factor? And your personal subjective experiences are tough to quantify.
Do you feel anything was achieved with the open house tonight?
You know, honestly, no. They're going to do what they want to do. I think this was just a way for us to communicate and give us avenues so we can talk to them if we, get some memorandums of understanding, and we can communicate moving forward. They're going to do what they're going to do. We're not going to stop them, but we can work with them, and maybe they can help minimize the damage that could be created.
My name is Bart Jarmula, and I'm from Revelstoke. I've lived here for the last 10 years.
And how do you feel the forestry open house went tonight?
I think it went quite well. The turnout seemed quite high. It shows that people are interested in what's going on with the forest and what may happen with the trails. It's obviously a complicated issue. There's a lot of different things to consider when it comes to both the value of the trails, visual impacts, impacts for the forestry industry, the benefit of the forestry industry. It's not kind of a simple black and white answer, unfortunately, which That's why I think we're having the open house.
Is there anything else that you feel is important on the subject matter that wasn't addressed here tonight?
I think it's important to realize that if people want to keep the forest there and do not want to have harvesting going on, then a case needs to be made to the province, so that it's the way I understand it, so that the province can change the rules and designate an area. I don't think the licensees play into it. They just are doing what they're hired to do. So hopefully people got that message. And personally, I feel as a cross-country skier that a bit more vitamin D and a bit more sunshine is a good thing. So I'm okay with that.
Now, the message I got from speaking with the public was that the presentations were generally one-sided in favor of harvesting. And although the presentations were fairly informative, people felt as though the timber companies were going to do what they wanted to do anyway. Now, what some people told me is that they felt that cooperation between all the interested parties was key in getting a solution to the problem. And what some people said was that although the open house was a good start, it certainly wasn't the solution itself. So how will it all play out? Well, I guess only time will tell. With the Revelstoke Mountaineer, this is Nick Khattar.